Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Together We Grow's 2021 annual meeting. It is my pleasure to kick us off this morning with Jan Iron to deliver our land acknowledgement before we get started today. Jan Iron is an IT professional for the Agricultural Experiment Station at Colorado State University. She's been at CSU for over 40 years, first as a student at Colorado State University, and now as an employee. Jan is Navajo, originally from Shiprock, New Mexico. She serves on the Colorado State University College of Agriculture Science Diversity Catalyst Team and the Native American Advisory Council to the president of CSU. She is heavily involved in serving her Native American community and is president of the Northern Colorado Intertribal Powwow Association. As many of you know, Together We Grow is fortunate to be housed at Colorado State University System. Jan has been kind enough to join us for the launch of our annual meeting to deliver our land acknowledgement statement. Jan, I'll turn it over to you. Jan, will you take yourself off mute?
Okay, good morning. Yat bine shikedo shidene she ya jan arni nashia kitlachini nashle toiketlini bashichin trachini dashichedo trachini dashanale akota dene astanishla. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jan Iron. I've introduced myself in my first language, a formal way of introduction that was taught to us at an early age to establish a kinship, a relationship with everyone and everything around us. I'm honored to share Colorado State University's land acknowledgement. The purpose of the statement is to show respect for the original stewards of this land, the indigenous peoples, and to recognize their enduring relationship to and respect for the land and everything within and upon it. Practicing the acknowledgement can also bring awareness and understanding about peoples and histories that are often suppressed or forgotten. As the new stewards of this land, we look forward to 2050 and beyond. We must take that responsibility seriously for our children, our grandchildren, and all the future generations. Your presence, your ideas, your voice, and your actions today make a difference. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Hinanana, Arapaho, Sisistus, Cheyenne, and the Nooch, Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and people whose lands this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Thank you.
Jan, thank you. I appreciate the land acknowledgement statement so much for a multitude of reasons, one of which is that forward-looking view, and our consortium is also very focused on that future-leaning collaborative outcome that we're all hoping to work together towards. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to transition to teeing us up for a fantastic annual meeting. So as you all know, this meeting is split over 2 days, and the goal for this meeting is to really celebrate the amazing amount of work that you all have been engaged in over the past year. A year ago, we convened together as Together We Grow, really focusing in on the changes that the pandemic and our social justice calls across the country and the world had brought upon our industry. And we wanted to recognize the amazing progress that we've made and also acknowledge the challenges and the work we still have ahead of us. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to ground us in the work that we have before us today. We're going to reflect on this past year. And for those of you who are new to Together We Grow, we wanted to spend just a couple of minutes really telling you the story of where we've been. Our mission as a consortium is to unite to build a more skilled, diverse, and inclusive workforce for the U.S. food and agriculture industry. What that means is that we want to match capabilities to future needs for the workforce. We want to ensure that we're reaching new talent to drive the innovation we know we'll need to feed another 2 or 2.5 billion people in the next 30 years with the impacts of climate change. And that we want to drive cultures of inclusion. We want to ensure that our organizations are places where people feel safe, celebrated, and welcome. We are organized around sharing best practices, sponsoring research, investing in pilots, and scaling promising efforts. And the beauty of being part of a consortium of industry partners, higher education institutions, national NGOs, and governmental entities is that we all have so much to learn from each other. We were started in 2016, 5 years ago, in a gathering in Washington, D.C., convened by some of the faces that you will see on our annual meeting agenda this year as well, along with Secretary Vilsack during his prior tenure as the Secretary of Agriculture for President Obama. And that group that convened was really focused on the future challenges our industry faces. And the challenges that we face in the next 30 years are significant, as are the challenges that we face day in and day out in our current work. And the consensus of the people who gathered in 2016 was that we can do more by working together than we ever could do as individual institutions. And Together We Grow was born. Several years ago, we looked for a university partner to house this effort, and Colorado State University System became the host of Together We Grow in late 2019. We've since spent a lot of time really formalizing our industry and investing in our communications infrastructure, our board, and we are excited about where we're able to pivot this next year because of the foundation that we've been building. So let's take a moment to focus in on this past year. A year ago, we convened and really focused in on racial equity and inclusion more broadly speaking in our industry. And we decided the best way we could dive in was by working together. So before we really talk about some of those tactics and strategies, I do want to take a few moments to thank some of the people without whom we would not be able to do this work. I want to thank our board. You will hear in just a little while our former board chair, Mike D'Ambrose, and our current board chair, Deborah Borg, in a fireside chat talking about the big themes facing our industry at the moment. We also want to thank Melissa Wernick from Kraft Heinz, who serves on our board, and Melissa Harper, who recently transitioned out of the industry from her role at Bayer. But these four have really been instrumental in helping to launch Together We Grow and helping us get to the place where we are today. I also wanted to spend a few moments thanking our co-chairs of our working groups. Many of you on this call participated in our working groups, some of you leading special projects and championing issues. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to specifically thank the co-chairs of our working groups who really rolled up their sleeves and got to work helping us collaborate across the industry. Our first working group focuses in on our corporate partners, and that was co-led by Philomena Morsi-Sater from Land O'Lakes and Demetha Sanders from Cargill. We additionally had a special working group focusing in on inclusive excellence in higher education. That was co-led by Dr. Pamela Morris from Purdue University and Dr. Quentin Tyler from Michigan State University. We had a convening group for NGOs, specifically those who work with youth and help them to find their futures in our industry. That group was co-led by Wanda Jackson from the National Urban League and Ebony Weber from Manners, or Minorities in Natural Resources, in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. And then our storytelling working group, which was led by Tiana Kennedy from the Colorado State University System and Diana Enduit from Bungie. So I want to share a little bit of the things that we are excited about across the industry this year. The first is that we grew our team to support our work. One of the key things that has consistently been addressed as a place where we could lean in on is our communications infrastructure. And out of our storytelling work, we were able to create a vision and a need and support for hiring a new position. So we doubled the staff for Together We Grow this last year, and brought on Russell Schiller at the beginning of July. Russell is running our social media work. He has a really fantastic session along with Diana tomorrow about getting social with us and some of the strategies and techniques that you'll be able to utilize to engage with young people, and also how we can collaborate to tell a more consistent storyline for the food and agriculture sector to our future workforce. We're so delighted to have Russell. He is a graduate of Howard University and previously ran social strategies for brands like Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas for East Bay, which is the banner for Foot Locker. We are also very excited about all of the work we've been doing on our communication strategy more broadly. We have rebranded, we have a new website, we've launched an engagement series sharing best practices, we have a newsletter, and with Russell's help, we've been able to launch strategies on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And so we really feel like we're starting to build more and more communications infrastructure to meet the needs of our members and the industry, and also to connect with young people who have never before seen themselves in the food and ag sector as a place where they want to lend their talent and have a career with purpose. We also have really dove in on the numerous ways that we can help to support and drive inclusion. We do have an industry pledge that was baked out of our food and agribusiness working group. That industry pledge is really rallying around 5 central principles that we feel like are important for being able to drive cultures of inclusion for the food and agriculture sector. And I hope, if you haven't already, that you'll consider joining us in that pledge. The second thing I really want you to be aware of is our transformational leadership training session, and I'll dive in on that a little bit in a little bit more depth. But we have really been this year focusing in on that connective tissue for best practice sharing, for being able to drive those cultures of inclusion. And one of the things that I think has been most rewarding for our team has been being able to see some of our industry partners who've been at this work for a very long time, continuing to go deeper, continuing to strengthen the work that they're doing and have more impact than ever before. And we also have a lot of newer members who are newer in this space and who have just launched strategies for the first time this past year. And you'll get to hear from various perspectives across our membership and points in this journey within our annual meeting agenda today. So if you have been involved with us and you're wondering how you can continue to stay involved, or if you are new on this call and are wondering how to get involved with Together We Grow, there are a handful of things that I would like you to be aware of. The first is that industry pledge. If you want to sign on, the pledge is really centered on creating strategic strategies, sharing best and unsuccessful practices, implementing evidence-based education and training for employees, bringing the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion to stakeholders and community commitments. So that would include philanthropy, the way that you participate on community events and panels, and then also monitoring progress. We want to make sure that we're not just doing things for the sake of doing things, but that we are creating real impact and being able to collaborate across the board on ensuring that we are making real impact. You can find this information on our website, and you'll also get it as in follow-up to this meeting. We also hope that you will join us for our transformational leadership training. Our first session in the 6-part series kicks off today with Dr. Ramon Pastrano. He is a veteran of culture change, and we are delighted to be working with him This leadership training is open to any of Together We Grow's members, and we very much hope to see your teams be part of it. You can get a taster of what this will be like by attending Dr. Pastrano's session this afternoon. And if you feel inspired to keep at this journey, we invite you to enroll in our cohort training. It is centered on the IDI, which will help to give you a personalized sense of your multicultural awareness and skills, and help you develop an individualized plan that you can apply to your own leadership and the transformational leadership that you bring to your organization. And our hope is that by engaging in a cohort across the industry, bringing our partners from our corporate partners and our higher education institutions, our NGOs and our governmental entities, that we'll be able to think about how we show up as leaders across this entire industry to drive that important transformation that we know is really critical to attracting and retaining the talent that we want to. We also hope that you will join one of our convening groups. So those 4 working groups that we launched last year are changing their strategy a little bit in this coming year. They have decided in each of them that they want to convene every other month for an hour to be able to share best practices and also to solicit feedback from new and emerging strategies. So if you are a partner in an NGO or our corporate entities or in higher education, the goal is that you have some of the most dedicated and thoughtful minds in the industry who are focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion really at your fingertips to help you think through strategies, and also as a place to say, this worked and we want to share it because we think it could work for you, or this worked a little bit and it didn't work in these other ways, and we want to be able to have a space for that as well. So we encourage you to get involved in those convening opportunities. We also very much hope that you will get engaged in our storytelling efforts. Russell is leading these efforts. There are 3 different ways for you to inform the strategy that we are tackling here, but our communication efforts really are intended to showcase our industry in a much broader scope, to expand the frame of how young people understand what it is that we do in our industry and how we solve some of the biggest challenges that the globe faces, that we offer careers with purpose, and that if you are a member of this up and coming generation who really wants to make an impact, that we're one of the best places you can do so. So the goal of our storytelling is to tell real stories, ideally from people who are working within your organizations, your students, your postdocs, your fellow faculty and staff members, your employees, your interns. We want to tell stories about the really cool jobs that exist so that we can expand the frame of how the public understands our industry, focusing particularly on those STEM disciplines. And also as a foundational level, just telling more diverse stories so that more people can see themselves in our industry. You can also follow our accounts, and if you would like to get involved, if you would like to follow or encourage your organization, your followers to get involved as well, we do feel like being able to talk with one voice as an industry is very powerful. This is one of the key through lines that has been articulated as a need in our industry, to just have people better understand what it is that we actually do and the power that we have in solving some of the biggest challenges that we face. So get involved with us. So this next year, we have a handful of things that we're very excited about. As I said before, we really have been building our infrastructure to be able to continue to build on a solid foundation. And so we feel very excited about our board. We feel very excited about our membership. We've built this ecosystem and infrastructure for best practice sharing and communications. And this next year, as our small team pivots, where we're really excited to expand into is on focusing specifically on activating around our pipeline. There are 3 particular pillars that we will be doing that work in. One is a geographic focus. So we will be focusing on activating in a K-12 setting in St. Louis and Des Moines with a partner Cooter, and focusing in on partnerships with our corporate partners and our NGOs and higher education partners in those two locations. We'll be providing students frequent exposure to careers in agriculture with Cooter and their career development software, and also some connect to business activities so they can really get their hands dirty, apply some learning to our industry, and hopefully start to have some sparks about how they can take whatever it is they're interested in and be able to apply it to our sector. The second is a collaboration on skilled labor pipeline, particularly in rural communities. And so we recognize across the board for our industry partners that hiring for mechanics and HVAC technicians and electricians and a lot of our skilled labor trades is a unique challenge, particularly in our rural communities. And these are the positions that allow our plant and field operations to actually run. And so we will be launching a collaborative opportunity that we invite any of you to join us in to be able to start tackling some of those shared pain points for hiring, not just today, but also in the future. And then the third is activation on diverse college campuses, particularly with a STEM focus. And in this strategy, we're looking to activate at college campuses that have really incredible STEM degree programming, some of those allied fields like business and communications, but no connection into the food and agriculture sector. And there are a lot of these universities across the country. And so we are collaborating across our partnerships to be able to start doing some targeted recruitment events in those settings. And again, we invite you to get involved with us on those strategies if those sound of interest to you as well. The other thing that I want you to know is that obviously this year our meeting is once again virtual, and we very much hope that next year that will not be the case, that we will all be seeing each other in 3 dimensions, able to go and share a meal together in person. But we wanted to also let you know of an upcoming opportunity to help us kick off the new headquarters for Together We Grow. One of the reasons that we are housed at Colorado State University in downtown Denver, Colorado, is because of the opportunity we have to be part of the Spur campus that CSU is building right in the heart of downtown Denver, with the focus of engaging the public around our shared future when it comes to food, water, and health. That campus will be opening in conjunction with the National Western Stock Show, which is a longtime tradition that precedes our state's existence in Colorado. And we invite you to put on your calendars January 7th and January 8th for our grand opening. We've got some fun things in store, coronavirus permitting, and we're excited to hopefully see many of you in 3 dimensions in Denver this coming year. That is the overview that I have for where we've been and where we're headed. We are so excited to have all of you join us for today. We have some amazing sessions, and I just wanted to give you a sense of where we're headed in our agenda. So in just a few minutes, we are going to welcome our current board chair, Deborah Borg, and our past board chair, Mike D'Ambrose, to have a fireside chat to really dive in deep about the opportunities we have before us. We know that you all have done an inordinate amount of work this last year and that we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we wanted to take a moment to really pause and get big picture and strategic. Following that session at noon Mountain Standard Time and at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to dive in on some of the ways that our higher education institutions have been innovating. And we've got a fantastic panel moderated by Dr. Katie Gaybale from AFA. And our panelists include Dr. Cooper from Iowa State University, Dr. Gaines from Colorado State University, Harrison Pittman from the National Agriculture Law Center, and Dr. Quentin Tyler from Michigan State University. And we hope that you'll join us for that session. They're going to be sharing some of the really amazing ways that they've been able to pivot and dive in this year to innovate, particularly around supporting students of color and creating new pipelines of talent in those institutions. At 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to dive in on a panel about celebrating a year of change and the opportunities ahead. And this panel has fantastic representation from 3 of our corporate partners who are all at different places in their journeys, as well as NGO partner with Ebony Weber from Manners and Dr. Pamela Morris from Purdue University, talking about what has shifted and changed for higher education institutions related to diversity, equity, and inclusion this past year. At 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Dr. Ramon Pastrano is going to launch our transformational training cohort. If you have not yet decided that you want to participate, you can attend this session today to get a really good sense of a multicultural lens and how to recognize unconscious bias so that you can apply that to your work. And then we'll end today with a really inspiring session about the Vestas program, which is an opportunity for our members to learn how our corporations can support hiring and retaining veterans with a really unique program that has been born out of the University of Tennessee. That will conclude our session today. Tomorrow, we will start with a fantastic session on beating burnout, which I hope that you will all join us for. I have the privilege of being able to talk to many of you, and while I know we have so much to celebrate, I also know that this year has been hard and that we have had a lot to juggle and have had a lot of constant change management. We've had to work on our resiliency, and Dr. Jimenez is a world-renowned expert in buffering against burnout, and she's going to be on hand to talk to us about how we can ensure that we're able to continue to do this hard and challenging, but really important and vital work. We've also got sessions with USDA. We are going to have a really important session on critical race theory. This was a request from our higher education community and our NGO community, many of whom have been getting some pushback and resistance to being able to talk about diversity and systemic issues that might be challenging in creating cultures of inclusion. And we have Dr. Lori Davis-Patton, who will be joining us in bringing her expertise to critical race theory to that session as well. And then we'll close out tomorrow with some closing comments from Dr. Olga Bolden-Tiller from Tuskegee University, offering us some reflection. And we are so honored that all of you have been able to make time to join us. We know that we have so much to celebrate and so much work ahead of us. And so we hope that we'll see you in our various sessions. 2 other things to look forward to tomorrow. Russell will be offering a session on getting social with us, getting really tactical about how to engage in our storytelling work. So please join us for that. And the National 4-H has been doing some tremendous work to advance equity in their future leaders, your future employees, your future students. And so we hope that you'll join us to learn more about their strategies as well. And with that, we will take a momentary pause and we will start back in just a couple of minutes with our fireside chat with Deborah Borg and Mike D'Ambrose. Join us then.